Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So it's that time of week again. It's our usual Friday night live. So give you a bit of a catch up to what's been going on here, and let's see who comes in for a chat, and we'll have a general catch up with everyone else out there. So who's out there? Let's see. So cooking, how are you doing? Long time no see. Hope everything's good with you. Alan, first one in the chat on YouTube. Hope you're keeping well, boss. Hope everything's good with you. My peppers and plants are getting rained on. See, is there any detriment? I see. A couple of weeks ago on YouTube, I've named the topic of the chat. Too much rain. So we're actually discussing that. So we've gone from having no rain at all to having extreme amounts of rain, and one of the good things about that is that now, when the ground's dry after a long period of rain, the rain comes down and everything just skims off the surface, and it causes flooding downstream unless you've got water breaks or something to break that water flow. But now that the way we've got it now is we've got enough water coming down at a constant rate that water's penetrating into the soil and it's soaking into the soil, and that's going to give us a chance, further on, because the rest of July is looking like it's going to be rain, but the long-term forecast, probably August is going to be quite dry, and if August is quite dry, then hopefully that soil water soaking into the soil and staying in the soil, especially if you're building soil with lots of mulch and lots of carbon in there, it's going to be building that, and then we'll have a nice, deep layer of solid soil in there, and it's going to allow your plants to draw on those water reserves later on. So from that perspective, it's good. But if you've got young seedlings, some of those could be getting drowned at the moment. So we've got to start taking measures to protect them. So we've got a few people over on TikTok. Did I win the election? I'm afraid not. Unfortunately not. I came a respectable second. It's a solid seat for Labour, but I gave them a good challenge, but unfortunately I didn't. But we'll try again next year and hopefully unseat the zombie that was. If you've seen the videos, we'll try and unseat that guy. We'll give it another go, but we just need some support. So over on YouTube, Jamil Ahmed, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Friendly Food Forest Permaculture, Keto Family, don't crop me now. How is everyone doing? Hope everyone's good. So Northern Ireland is very wet. One dry day for 2 weeks. So I think we're having similar weather over here. It's raining every day. Today feels a little bit colder. Yeah, today really feels a little bit colder. So hopefully we'll get some warm weather that'll lift things up again. And this water will just and this rain will just turn that garden into massive amounts of growth. So Storm Chaser over on YouTube, on TikTok, tried your achar set. It was lovely, thank you, and got fast delivery. I'm really glad you got it. Yeah. See, I did that video. Someone was complaining about the price of the pickles, and I did that video, and we've actually sold out of Naga as a result of that. So overnight we had loads of orders come in, and Naga's sold out. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before we get around to stocking that and making that and again. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. See, it's different, isn't it? It's nice. So we've got Sui and we've got Yusuf United. So I've got my two nephews in the house as well. So we've got to be careful what we're saying because they're only little babies. MashaAllah. So managed to lift my onions. We'll have to post a pic. Yeah. How'd you get on with your onions? We've had a poor year for onions this year. We just had a really poor year for onions. I didn't get my onions planted out in time, and the ones that were looking like they were going to do really well, the chickens went and completely decimated them and destroyed them. Um, so my own pets are destroying my own, my own crops. So it's a bit of a weird one. What do you do about that? um, just finished the berry pick and into the freezer. What berries did you pick? We're getting loads and loads of strawberries at the moment. Loads of strawberries, loads of raspberries. One of the things, so I grow autumn fruit and autumn fruit and raspberries. But one of the things that I forgot to do this year was I forgot to clip them back, and I was gonna do it, late winter, early spring, and I just completely left them, and they've turned because I've left them. They've started sprouting off the old growth, and they've sent out loads of growth from the old growth, and actually turned into summer fruit in raspberries. So we're getting loads of raspberries at the moment. Uh, so so any advice on how to get more figs growing on my fig tree? It's only got one fig on it. Um, how old is your fig tree? Give us that bit of information. And have you got it in the ground or in a pot? Um, so it's not too wet here. Just thankful we're not in a drought. See, we've gone from drought conditions to extreme. We've gone from one extreme to the other. It's really really wet. Um, so 8 o'clock here. Got my PJs on and sorting seeds for next year. There's still seeds to be planted this year, man. Um, spent 5 hours yesterday with a representative from National Allotment Society judging the plots on our ground. Oh, fantastic! When did you find out how you did? Because your allotment's absolutely awesome. It is absolutely awesome. Where's Brownie? Brownie's downstairs. She's sat on the table meowing at everyone for being out and leaving her at home alone. Yeah. So you teach me how to grow peppers. I'll teach you how to grow onions. Um, Raspberry, goji berry, and some trial berries. Um, so yeah, I planted a goji berry about 10 years ago, and it stayed as this spindly little plant that never really did anything. It stuck out some tiny little spindly shoots, but it never did anything. So I got rid of. Well, I never got rid of that, but I managed to pick up another goji berry this year, and it's a much healthier specimen. So I planted that and given it a nice spot. So hopefully, in a couple of years, we'll get some goji berries. I want to grow onions from seed, which month is good. So there's a couple of varieties. If you're gonna plant something like Senshu, you can start Senshu. Because I saw Val ask the question: is it way too late for onions? If you want onions to harvest this year, yes, it is too late for onions. So, but if you're gonna get something like Senshu onions, right? They're a good variety of overwintering onions. There's a couple of others, but Senshu is the one that is one of the most popular overwintering onions. If you start those in August, get them off to young plants and plant them out into your garden sort of late September, mid-October time, that sort of period, and overwinter them in the garden. They'll stay in the garden and they'll come on really early next year, and you'll get a good early crop from them. But otherwise, if you're going to go for most of the other onion crops and you're going to grow them from seeds, I like to start them in about November time. So November, December, January, that quarter, those 3 months is when I like to start my onions. So what else we got? So Alan's allotment is full. That's why I can't sow anything new. Cut the tillers off my sweet corn today. Some say you should, some say you shouldn't. With do you know when you say tillers? Do you mean those? Do you mean little side shoots that pop out the bottom? Um, Generally, removing them will help put more strength into the main plant. and that way you get better cones off the main plant. But if you think about it, on a large scale agricultural farm, they're not doing it. But in gardens, and you want better crops off your off the single plants that you've got, do everything that it takes to make sure that they give you the absolute best. So yeah, I'd remove them as well. It's around a year, 2 years old. Got it off someone and planted it in a large planter. Give it time. See, they're not going to start giving you good figs up until about year 3, 4, especially at that stage. If you're already getting figs off it, yeah, just give it a little bit of time and you'll get some figs off it. Root restriction works well for figs, and plenty of feed. So again, figs, pinch the top 1 inch on one fig tree around July, at least 5 feet tall out of the pot. Goji don't like water on the leaves. The thing is, my goji is outside, so it's going to struggle with not getting rained on. In the UK, we get a lot of rain. So I'm pumping my corn with Gromo. They enjoy it. Dark green leaf. See, if you think about pumpkin, sweet corn, it's a grass, right? And grass likes a lot of nitrogen. So if you want to pump it full of food without having to resort to grow more and synthetic kind of fertilizers, if you can get some manure, horse manure, chicken manure is fantastic. A handful of chicken manure pellets, human urine. That's one that is quite good. If you use bloodfish and bone, you can use that. If you're a meat eater and you cook meat, when you wash your meat, the water that's bloody that's left, use that to water anything that likes a lot of nitrogen, and you'll give it a lot of really good, a really good boost. So we've got Shabs, we've got Muhammad Abdul Basit, and we've got Sky. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hope you're all keeping well. And guys, if you won't mind hitting those like buttons for me, that would be really good. So I'm cropping loads of Logan berries now for a good early fruit. Bobby, how are you doing? Fig tree isn't doing as well. See, I had a really nice, really nice fig tree, massive fig tree. Was looking probably about 12 foot tall, really bushy plant. Last year we got figs off it, and then all of a sudden it just died. For no reason at all, it just died. But luckily I took a couple of cuttings from it, and those cuttings, I rooted them last year, and they're going to be going into the ground or into some kind of containers this year. So awesome that I'm going to try that. My corn has lots of side shoots. My fig tree has yellowing leaves. Figs need plenty of feed. Got it. We'll feed it. Yeah, they want a good amount of feed. How have you got it in a pot or in the ground? Because they don't like loads of water, but at the same time they don't like it too. If it's in a pot, nutrients might be a problem as well. If you want to boost magnesium and calcium, you can grow purslane and make purslane tea fertilizer. See, most soils, unless they're completely depleted, have a good amount of magnesium in there. Because you only need trace elements for that, trace amounts of that sort of thing. Calcium, if you're using bloodfish and bone, that's really good, and it slowly breaks down. And if you're using homemade compost and you're chucking stuff like eggshells in there, over time, I mean, eggshells take a long time to turn into plant available form of calcium. But if you're constantly doing it over years, you'll be adding that calcium and stuff in there. So yeah, but I do like your purslane idea, because you can eat the purslane as well. and you're getting a good crop off. You're getting two crops. So you're getting your salad crop, and you're getting your tea. So I do like that. Yeah, that's a really nice one. Put goji berry under the overhang of the house. It's the tap water mostly, but over rain will do it. Okay, okay. See, I've what the way I do a lot of my berries is I plant them under my fruit trees. So my goji berries planted in between a plum and a cherry tree. So I've got my plum tree, I've got my cherry tree, and then all underneath is loads of raspberries and loads of strawberries. So I've probably got hundreds of strawberry plants and raspberry plants just dotted about underneath there, along with currant bushes, so black currants, red currants, white currants, um, um, and the odd dandelion and garlic thrown in there as well for good measure. Um, so if I was going to put it under the overhang of the house, then I'd have to stick it in a pot. Where is it? So Binds, aka Bindi Boo, answer attacking my female squash blossoms. Blossoms will that hurt the squash? Ants shouldn't no ants don't normally attack the plant. So are you sure they're ants that are attacking your blossoms? Because ants normally don't do that. They sometimes they have, you know, um, they're farming aphids, and those aphids will do the damage, or other insects will do the damage. It's not normally ants that do it. Let's see what else is coming up. So especially if you have a problem with tomato, spray it with the tea and then make it drink some. Aphids are eating my bean flowers, black aphids. Ladybirds should be in plenty of supply at the moment. If you ever get nettles just growing in your garden, let the nettles grow, you know, because that's a natural, one of the best attractors for ladybirds are stinging nettles. Really good habitat for ladybirds. So if you allow a few nettle plants to grow in your garden somewhere, I allow nettles to grow right near my compost pile. So when no one else is going to go, no one else is going to get stung by them other than me. I've got loads of nettle plants just dotted around my compost piles, and then that way I get a nice habitat for ladybirds. So and so yeah, it's in a pot. It's probably exhausted. See, the first protocol there. Then try and repot it. I mean, with a potted plant, you can repot that anytime. So Cato Family Farm, your mine were rife with big tillers this year. Be aware there's mixed advice on whether to remove them or not. What we got? Aphids are eating my bean flowers, black aphids. So yeah, I read that one. Mrs. Yuri, walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'd like to get into planting veg and fruits in my back garden. Any tips? Absolutely. What kind of space are you working with, and what kind of fruit and veg do you want to plant? Because if you look on my YouTube channel at the moment, I'm doing I do a container garden series every year. So you can follow a really cheap way of growing in containers, you know, free containers. With me, I'm not someone who's a pretty gardener, you know, someone who's trying to achieve, you know, pretty results or prettify the garden. For me, it's more about being a productive garden, being a functional garden, being somewhere that's a natural ecosystem, that lots of plants, lots of insects can all enjoy at the same time without having to nuke everything, you know, with either herbicides or pesticides, you know, to keep things under control. So Mimi Susu, so many guavas this year. Oh, you're making me jealous there. Yeah, we've got another comment there. Are they not pollen beetles? Yeah, pollen beetles are a bit can be a bit of a pest. Do you get pollen beetles when it rains? Because we normally tend to get pollen beetles, heavy infestations of pollen beetles when it's dry, but not when it's raining. So I'm going to spray the tomato with my homemade hand soap. Yeah, soapy water. What did you say is attacking your tomato plants? Because I don't tend to get pests on my tomato plants. That's one thing that I've noticed seeing. Great seeing you, bro. Keep up the good work. Jazakallah khair. I appreciate that. Black aphids. Yeah, if you've got black aphids on them, then yeah, spray them with soap. If they're indoors, try a little bit of neem oil. That's really quite useful. It's quite a big garden and looking to plant tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, hopefully lemon and olive. Whereabouts in the world are you? Because lemon and olive are really nice plants, but they like a nice Mediterranean climate or a warmer climate if you want them to be really productive. But otherwise, you can get pretty plants. They do make pretty plants, and you can get them to grow as pretty plants here in the UK. So you can still. This month is a great year to get a great time to get carrots sown. Late up until the early part of August is probably your last chance to get carrots sown for this year if you want a good harvest from them. So carrots like being grown in high containers, so something about 2 foot off the ground, and that allows them protection from their biggest pest, which is carrot fly, because carrot fly about 2 foot below 2 foot off the ground. So if you're planting them in high beds, you're protecting them from that. Tomatoes, you can still get crops of tomatoes, but you need to. I mean, you're not going to be able to grow them from seed now. You're going to have to get some established plants. And potatoes, if you can still get enough potatoes planted and get a crop for winter. But if you're going to go for winter crops, then containers are probably best because it does get quite rainy during winter, and that will rot your potatoes. What's happening on YouTube? All the comments seem to have stopped. Derek, how are you doing? Derek, I got your message a couple of weeks ago about your bottle gourds. So thanks for the update. I really appreciate that. We had a bit of a problem. So I gave, you sent the giant seeds over, the Greek giant seeds. And as soon as we got them, I gave them to my mum to look after. And then she forgot where she put them. So we only found them again last week. They were hiding on my bookshelf in between some of my books. So I think it's going to be one for next year for us with the Greek giants, unless she's actually gone and sown us a couple. But yeah, that's where I am with that. So I'm wanting to grow brassicas where I had onions. So what's the best prep for them? They're going to go into a raised bed. So you're going to want to go brassicas where I have my onions. So what's the best prep for them? So if brassicas are fine to go straight after onions. The feed profile is different. So the nutrients that they want is a different one. Brassicas tend to want more nitrogen than onions. Onions want a lot more phosphorus in the ground. So yeah, following brassicas on onions, a handful of bloodfish and bone, generally just spread over the top, or a little bit of wood ash will be fine. Because remember, brassicas want a higher pH. See, this is Cooking, you mentioned earlier about calcium, right? Um, like one thing that needs mentioning about calcium is pH often causes issues around plants absorbing calcium. So if the pH is off, then the plants can't absorb enough calcium, and this tends to happen with tomatoes and with squash and stuff like that, because they can suffer from things like blossom end rot, and that's caused by a lack of calcium. But um, it's not necessarily a lack of calcium in the soil. It could be a lack of calcium that in the plant due to incorrect pH, and then we've got to work around how to adjust the pH, or get it back to a neutral sort of level. Uh, so Big Mac, how are you doing, man? Hope you're keeping well. If I try turning YouTube off and on again, if I do that, I'm gonna lose you all, and then I'll be on my own. My cucumbers in the tubs were made with rabbit bedding and topped with sheep wool. Oh, that sounds awesome. That sounds a awesome little, yeah, awesome little bed for any plant. To be honest with you, um, where'd you get sheep's wool from? Have you got farms close by, or have you got some contacts? Um, so eat them. They should be like butter beans, and I'll send you more. I've got plenty of hospital stock. Play with it. Oh man, really. What's been going on, Derek? Hope it's nothing serious. Um, um, I was thinking of brassicas, chicken pellets, and well rotted manure for top of a bed. Yeah. If you've got some wood ash, Alan, I'd stick a bit of wood ash on there. That would be good. Um, just so you can, just give it. One thing about wood ash is it has loads of trace elements in it that just tops up any sort of uh, deficiency that you might end up in the soil. Onions aren't heavy feeders, so they won't have taken that much out of it. So you're not going to have a big issue there. But just in case, I would give it a little bit of wood ash if you've got some. Um, but what you're saying about the chicken pellets and well rotted manure, I wouldn't necessarily do both of them because they're both quite heavy nitrogen. Um, I don't think you need them both. Just the well rotted manure would be enough, I think. What's your grow zone? Where you're from? I think it's about a 7A or an 8A. We don't really use those, especially USDA grow zones. Um, so I feel bad for feeling like I'm neglecting the black aphid is now eating my new rhubarb. Uh, See, whenever plants or whenever something that you've been nurturing starts getting attacked, I'm sure you're gonna. We all do it. We all feel a little bit bad, but get on them. Get out there and um, get them sprayed. And rhubarb's pretty resilient. Rhubarb is pretty resilient once it's established. Especially, it's really hard plant to do anything to. Best nitrogen is urea. Urea is yeah, that's what human urine is a good fertilizer if you're allowed to do it. I mean, my wife would kill me if she ever saw me peeing in the garden, and she'd probably never eat anything from the garden again. So um, so I think you get sheep's wool from sheep. See, I asked, didn't I? I asked, and there's the answer. Plant brassicas after legumes, cut the beans, peas, etc. down to ground level, and legumes roots which release nitrogen. Brassicas need. He said you don't get tomato disease or pest now we're road. the one tomato plant, the one tomato disease that I do get is blight, and this rain is perfect conditions for blight. So blight is everywhere. You know, it's perfect conditions for blight to be growing. Once it starts spreading, this is one thing that can wipe out tomatoes, wipe out your potatoes, and affect your squash as well. So be on the lookout. You know, yeah, really be on the lookout. And if you see any signs of any infection, cut it out early as possible to help stop it spreading. You probably won't eliminate it, but you might just slow it down enough to be able to push you over a harvest. You know, get yourself a decent harvest. So in Norfolk, it's sent to landfill as no one wants so many. You're talking about wool. Okay. Go and grab some, Derek, because I think if you ever buy, my mum bought a bag of Asda compost last week, and I think there's a lot of sheep's wool being used in that because it's really fibrous. It's not like grass clippings. I think it could be wool that's being used in there, maybe, but there's some kind of fibrous material that I can't quite tell. It could be wool. What about cats? Do you have that problem? You need to be watching my YouTube channel. I talked about cats being a problem on my last video. Yeah, we do have that problem. So cats come in and use a lot of my beds as litter trays, especially when I've prepared a bed fresh. So when I'm sowing things like carrots, you know, mix fresh sand and compost and create a beautiful bed, and then a cat comes along and takes a massive dump in it. So yeah, the best solution for that is covering it. You know, use something to cover it. I've got bits of plastic, you know, from greenhouses that I've had in the past that I use to cover it, or you know, something like a wire mesh or wire netting. That'll be really good. So the sheep's wool was from a children's farm in Bolton. You've got a regular supply. That's awesome. You know, I'm gonna have to look and see what we can find. I was at a local tractor supply store and they had some squash plants put out, littered with squash bug. Do you have that problem with squash bug? Ginger, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. AJ, lots of tomatoes at the moment. Some big black beauties, but none seem to be ripening quickly. Even sungles are just green. Anyone else having that issue? It should be a good temperature for tomatoes to be ripening. Where we're getting a few sungles, you know, the problem with sungles is as soon as they start ripening, people would, you know, whether it's me or anyone else from the house, is just going and picking them and eating them, you know, fresh, straight off the plants, and they're not making it into the house. But yeah, we love sungold tomatoes and little cherry tomatoes. I love snacking on them while I'm outside. But generally, tomatoes will mature and start to ripen when the temperatures, whenever the temperature's taken, you know, a steady 15 Celsius night and day. That's, you know, as long as you're getting steady sort of 15 C, you'll get your tomatoes ripening. But it might just want a little bit of time. Just give it time. And the other thing I wanted to say was your little tub pond is absolutely amazing. I was so impressed by that. You know, the little ladle spoon thing that you had in there just for effect, that just looked awesome. Yeah, I'm really impressed by your tub pond. Really, really good. So Stevie Bonner from the Falkland Islands, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Um, so I don't know if those comments are what those comments are about. Okay. Graham, how are you doing, man? Long time no see. Hope everything's good. Um, yeah, we've been missing you, man. I guess watched Pot Never Bo- There you go. That's the phrase. Um, have you heard from Graham lately? He's busy working. He's busy working. Um, Graham and yeah, he's busy working, keeping himself out of trouble. Um, so yes, my Alicante tomatoes are covered in large fruits, but they are very slow to ripen this year. Um, I don't know what. Once again, I don't know what's happened to my big tomatoes because I've got cherry tomatoes literally everywhere. So all over the garden, I've got loads and loads of different types of cherry tomatoes. So I don't know what's happened to all the big, the big varieties that I planted and where they've ended up. I know loads of people took tomato plants from me, so I think they've just swiped all my tomato plants from the other varieties, and I've been left with all the sweet millions and the sun golds and whatnot. Um, so yeah, they've been on the vines for ages. Do you know when you look at a tomato, right? So it goes like you get like the cloudy green as it's growing, and then it turns like a vibrant green, more like a see-through kind of dark green. And once it gets to that stage, then you think, okay, now it's going to look like it's going to start ripening. Have they got to that stage? If that makes sense. Um, Graham and working too. The suckers I've planted are doing really well too. They all have teeny tomatoes. See, the suckers will put on loads of plants. Um, I can't remember if you've got a greenhouse, but what I do is sort of early August. I plant a few suckers in the greenhouse, and then I can get tomatoes harvesting all the way till about November time. Until it really really gets cold. As long as the plant doesn't completely freeze. Obviously, it's not going to grow much bigger, but if you get some mature, if you get the plants mature enough, you can get some tomatoes all the way to midwinter. So that's a little tip that's worth following up on. Um, so what's going on over here? Um, yeah. So what's everyone's plans for this weekend? What are you all going to be aiming to do? Um, so apparently it's been too hot too early. Tomatoes don't produce the ripening chemicals above 25°C. Yes. Um, yeah. Ned, what country are you in? Are you in the UK? Because there's lots of ethylene about. So if you're yeah, that's a good point. Stick loads of banana skins and loads of ripe fruit, any kind of ripe fruit around it. That'll produce lots of ethylene, natural, in the air. Rachel, we'll catch you soon. Yeah, we'll see you again soon. I don't think 25C sounds a little bit low to me, because remember, just think about it. Loads and loads of tomatoes are growing in greenhouses, in polytunnels. 25C is quite a average temperature for most of those places. I think it's quite a bit higher than that. Bristol, UK. Yeah. Okay. So you're one of my friends started at uni in Bristol this year, and he was saying that you've almost got like a Mediterranean climate down there. So yeah, I want to buy a plastic chicken coop. Is Igloo any good? They're expensive. That's all I know about Igloo. I mean, plastic chicken coops are fantastic because they're really easy to clean. Igloo is a good variety, or Emloo, Omelette. They're a good brand name, or they're an established brand name in the market. But for me, they are quite expensive. If you can get yourself an IBC, an IBC tote, you can probably pick one up for about 50 quid. You could make an omelette, for that. Yeah. If I was gonna do a plastic coupe, I'd probably go for an IBC turned into a coupe rather than anything else. That's me, because I like DIY projects, and I try and avoid paying big companies loads and loads of money, because I'm a Yorkshireman. I don't like spending money. There you go. Alan, is all I do, mate. Just finished Great Yorkshire Show and did the RHS at Hampton Court Palace last week. Next week, I'm building, and a week after, I'm at the Royal Welsh Show. Someone's being fancy, aren't you? See, Malvern's a good show. We went a couple of years back. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Derek, you take care, and we'll see you again next week. It's worth having a look, but I'm not mentally there for DIY stuff. I stress too much. I get you. I'm gonna say, I do a lot of DIY when I've got, like my wife with me, or when I've got, the kids with me, and that takes a lot of stress out of it. When you've got some company, because sometimes, when you're doing DIY and you just can't hold something in the right position, you just haven't got enough hands. That's the thing that's most frustrating. Yeah, so if you've got someone there to just give you a hand, or someone to give you a cheer along, that normally works wonders. So if you've got someone to keep you company, Dublin is at least 3-hour drive, so might make it, Graham. I do Malvern. Rob's Allotment Gardening. Rob, how are you doing? Hope you're keeping well. Thanks for popping in. Where are all the comments gone on the live? Everyone seems to have gone to sleep. But I think it's going to be another rainy weekend this weekend. I think it's going to be another weekend of. I think it's going to be another full couple of weeks of heavy rain. Yeah. So planting, if you're planting young seedlings out, just be careful that you're not going to oversaturate them when you plant them out. I can talk for England. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I can. And your point is, it's because it's so rainy and dark. We're all nodding. So my knees are giving me a bit of sticker, but it's okay, thanks. So I seem to have got myself a little troll over there. Okay. Is it just wear and tear type of thing, or have you hurt them? So I've already had it. Just to say one thing, it's certainly not very Mediterranean in Bristol today. See, when he said that, I was like, yeah, but everywhere's been like the Mediterranean recently. He's like, no, it's really warm. It's really nice down there. Even in winter, it's not freezing. But yeah, so he got me a little bit jealous because I don't like the cold. I really struggle with the cold. So I'm sorting seeds out for next year. Where's the best place for a chat? I.e., Facebook messages. Have you ever had issues with rats in the garden? Yes, I have. And the thing about rats is I'm absolutely terrified of rats. I have a real bad phobia of rats. To the point where if I see one, I remember there was a dead rat at the bottom of the garden near where my compost pile is, and I just didn't go down there. I just waited for that something to take that rat away, and then once that rat had gone, then I went down to that end of the garden again. But uh, but yeah, I have had rat problems. Now the thing for me when to solve my rat problems was inviting the neighbourhood strays to take up residence in my garden. So I've got a stray cat that lives in my straw shed. So I made this shed out of some used doors for to keep my hay and stuff in for my chicken bedding. And one cat just lives in there. Another one lives near my compost pile. So I made him a little hut, and he just stays there. And they're doing really good work on keeping my rats out of the garden. There's one that I don't know how she always ends up in the greenhouse in the shed, but somehow every morning when we open the shed door, she comes darting out. But I'm sure we close that shed and there's nothing inside it. But yeah, there's a black cat that does that. So there's at least 3 stray cats that live in my garden somewhere, and they're a nuisance in terms of pooing in the garden. But they're good as pest deterrents. Like they help control rats. And for me, because of my phobia, it's good. Yeah. Um, so I've had to say traps are good. I mean, traps are better than poison. There was one year that I did use poison. It was a few years ago. I did use poison because I was just, I was just so scared. They'd moved into my greenhouse. They'd made like a massive underneath my hotbed. They'd made this massive nest. So there was they dragged in loads and loads of bread. It was like a full loaf of bread in there. Even burgers, like the burger patties. I found them in there. I found loads of stuff in there. but it was probably a nest, loads of tunnels, and then a nest about that size with loads and loads of food that they'd been gathering. And that was inside my red greenhouse. Yeah, I did resort to poison that year when I found that nest. But that was bad. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Yeah, really difficult to deal with. My neighbours from Hong Kong have really been enjoying the sweet peas in my garden. I told them to pick as many as they like. The more you pick, the more they. I love sweet peas. Sadly, this year we didn't get many growing, but yeah, I love sweet peas. Um, got to play catch up this week and been non-stop for the last few months. But it's good. It means you're getting some money in your pocket, so that's good. See, I'm using your expression now. I just need a bit of that as well. Um, where are we? I have the opposite problem. I used to have pet rats, and I really like them, but I can't let wild rats run rampant in the garden, and setting traps has been really upsetting. Well, could you invite neighbourhood strays into the garden? So my soil was very dry this year, even though I've been watering some radish and some onions were woody. I'm in Toby. It's rainy today and a bit cold. Any tips for better soil next year? Mulch, Eileen. Mulch. Mulch is the one thing that I'll say is the only way to improve soil. You know, let, loads and loads of mulch on the surface of the soil. Just leave it. Let the worms and let the soil life break it down and drag it into the soil and build the soil up. There's a really good illustration I saw recently, and it was sort of carbon content of soil, um, and how different things affected carbon content of soil. So if you had loads of microbes and top portions and stuff like that, and it was next, you know, the soil structure, um, the soil life had changed next to nothing. And then it was like compost was only slight, you know, digging compost in was only slightly better than doing nothing at all. Mulching with compost was quite a bit better, but using rough, deep mulches was by far the best of anything else. It was like double the next best alternative. Let me find that infographic, and I'll post a. I'll ask Mike to send me that infographic, and I'll post an image of it. But that was really it was good to see some research behind what I've been saying all along. You know, for me, mulch is the way to improve soil. Deep mulch. And I know there's a lot of people who are very passionate about growing with deep levels of compost and mulching with compost. Yeah, if you're a commercial grower and you want a sterile environment, fair enough. But I think mulch is the only way to build soil and to build the environment and build good ecosystems. Um, it's really sweet. Yeah, the cats. I like the cats. We've got. Have you seen our kitten? Um, I posted a TikTok of our little kitten. She's absolutely mental. She doesn't do it to anyone else, but you know, if I'm just sat wearing a t-shirt and I've got my hands just next to me, she just dart over and start eating my hands. I mean, yesterday she was biting my hands, literally trying to pierce my skin. I'm like, what are you doing, man? The first rat I caught wasn't killed by the trap, and I had to euthanize it as a rat lover. It was awful. Need to do what I can to keep them out of the garden to avoid having to kill them again. Um, yeah. You seen Ratatouille? Yeah, I'm not watching that, man. Uh, my dad would never say the word rat. How come? Was he scared of rats? I had a rat under the house. I didn't know it was there until it died. It's oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's another one. Catch and release in the countryside. Blueberry muffins and peanut butter uh, are best lures. Um, there used to be a guy who was a professional a professional pest control guy who used to come onto the chat. He don't come on anymore, but he used to say boiled potatoes or raw potatoes were quite good as well. Um, Lots of evidence that the relocate just die anyway. Um, uh, in Leeds, right? There's been a massive rise in rat populations over the last few years, and there's lots of little things that have led up to it. There's not far from where I am. There used to be around the cemetery. There was loads of wild bushes, and what the council did was they came in and got rid of all the wild bushes and all the sort of wild habitat that was around, and that caused a load of rats to move from that area into everywhere else. Another thing that the council used to get Yorkshire Water to do was they'd get them to flush the drains regularly, and that'd flush out a lot of rats from the sewers. But now they because obviously the Yorkshire Water charge the council for whatever it is, they stop doing it unless there's a specific problem, and then you have to fight to get it done. Um, and that yeah, you're that's contributed to a booming rat population around here as well. Um, plus the amount of takeaways and the takeaway foods, food scraps that are just thrown all over the place. That's causing a big issue. So my greenhouse toms have been. I normally grow my tomatoes outside. I grow the vast majority of my tomatoes outside. I grow a couple of plants inside, and I grow them late on. Um, yeah, I grow them late on just so I can get late harvests. Um, um, I love cats. At one time, we had a six cats and one six cats. Were they all house cats? I just shoot the rats up. It might take me, but um, so he's seen what they can do. And my dad was in merchant navy in war, and he said that they opened up the ship. Wow. Dandy Mum, how are you doing? Thanks for coming in. Hope you're keeping well. So you had six house cats. That's a lot of house cats, man. Yeah, we've mostly had a cat. So we had a cat. Yeah, we've mostly always had one cat. I think this last period when the kids have been small, that's been the longest period that we haven't had any sort of animals in the house. We had we had a cat when we moved here that we brought from our old house, and then one day she vanished. She completely vanished. Um, and then she came back about 6 months, 8 months later. Absolutely battered. She was in a real nasty state. Fur pulled out. She looked in a quite bad state. Um, we brought her into the house, getting ready to take her to the vets the next day. She got she ran out of the house when someone opened the door, and that was the last we saw of her. And then we just had a massive gap where probably about 6 or 7 years where we didn't have a cat. And now I'm loving having the new kitten in the house. She's absolutely nuts. But yeah, she's a bit mental, but she's very suited to our family. There's Martin's dreams of being a sailor completely dashed. My dad worked on the Merchant Navy, you know. Yeah, in the 60s, 50s and 60s.
Have you missed me?
Have you missed me? We've always missed you. What you got in your mouth?
Broccoli.
Broccoli, good boy. So, Jim, I've grown some Hungarian blacks, but absolutely awful, no flavour at all. What are they? They're tomatoes.
Why isn't anybody talking to me?
Well, you've just got here, so you've got to give them a chance to type something. I'm sure Alan will come in and Graham will say hello to you in a second when they see you. My cat spends most of the time trying to trip me up and kill me by getting under my feet.
Our cat spends most of her time trying to bite my dad. I shot you. Sorry. I'm getting my gun and shoot the computer.
No, you're not.
Don't get your mouth done.
It's supposed to be a chili, but terrible. I've never tried them.
Ow. I'm thinking.
You're shaking the computer is what you're doing. Have you had a good day at school, you two?
No.
Graham's asking. No.
Oh yeah, I had a good day at school.
Yeah.
You had missed me in today. Miss Meehan's not very good. I don't like her. Neither do I.
Rob, man, you don't want to be telling me things like that. I'm scared of him as it is. You don't need to tell me that a rat's gonna bite my throat.
Where? Where? How did he almost scare them? How did he scare them?
I'm trying to get you to laugh about the cats at my new house. My old house, I used to have several neighbourhood cats that kept their up. See, this is the thing that I've done.
Hello. Why is anyone talking to me?
So first of all, your variety is the key. But if you say that you've got the best variety and the hottest variety, a stressed plant. Yeah, hang on. Stress the plant as much as you can. So, if you've got them in a small pot, then leave them for a week before you water them. Let the soil dry. Let them maybe even start getting a little bit of droopy leaves, and then give them a big, really good soak in a really deep water, and really blast it with water, and then just repeat that process. That'll stress them a little bit. That's one way I like stressing them. But stressed plants produce hotter chilies. And obviously, it doesn't go. Being in a greenhouse is probably going to be the best, or being somewhere warm is going to be the best.
Why isn't anybody talking to me now?
I can't pinch your dad's chili.
Hello, why isn't anybody?
See, there you go, Steve. Stevie said it as well. Stress plants, man. stress them. Remember rats? Not rats.
Watering plants make.
Watering chili plants.
Hey,
why is it suddenly gone blurry? Have you guys been touching the camera lens?
Actually, not me.
Something's happened to the camera lens. It's gone blurry.
Hello.
Okay, stop it now.
Hello. The camera's gone a bit blurry.
I've lost what I was going to say. I was going to say something. The upside down jump scare might have been more dramatic at the end. At the end of the feed than.
What upside down jump scare?
I'm not sure.
I think I remember from the part where I did this.
That one. That was the.
Guys, I thought tell the names. One of them doesn't know your names.
Ned doesn't know your name, so what's your name?
Condolingo.
What?
His name's Tayyib.
Tayyib. And we got Khadija and we got Zaki. Little Zaki in the middle. Little baby Zaki.
I'm not a baby!
You're our little baby.
Ah! I saw this video the other day. Walking on the street with Amma speaking gibberish.
See,
then he points at
you're so brave having the kids involved. I got a funny comment on my last video, saying that I was ignoring the kids or something. That that I've been
abusing the kids or something.
No, not abusing the kids, just ignoring the kids. That I'm making
Bram's talking to you.
I'm making them unhappy.
Bram's talking to us.
I'm talking.
To you.
Apparently I'm making them miserable by not ignoring them.
By not ignoring.
By ignoring them. I thought, what's that all about?
Rob.
Have you?
Has somebody robbed the bank here?
No, Rob's robbed. No one's robbed a bank. But yeah.
Graham, why did I rob? It made me think someone robbed the.
Graham, what's Graham?
I can say Graham.
Graham.
Not Graham. I had a book and that one person's name was Graham, and I always used to say Graham or Graham or something like that. Because I couldn't say it properly.
What's the favorite thing that you like to grow?
Red currants.
Red currants.
Cherries. Peas. Corn.
Sweet corn.
And what's it called? Corn. Corn. What's it called?
I like
corn.
I like corn. It's corn.
Some people are thinking it's corn at school today.
You had to do it. It's corn. I'm getting
Some people are thinking it's corn.
Yeah.
In my school.
Rob, normally you get the same troll who does that. Don't worry, I still get.
Hello,
I still get that.
Troll who does what?
Troll
who does what?
Who gives you some dislikes as soon as you release a video. It doesn't matter,
Corn.
Dislikes, likes, show.
I don't eat corn a lot.
Emotional reaction from a video.
In corn.
And as long as okay, just let me just finish sensible. So as long as there's some kind of emotional reaction for the video, it shows that people were either they had some kind of positive or negative feeling from it. It shows more. It feeds better results back to YouTube than having someone show indifference to a video. So if someone just watches a video for 30 seconds, disappears, having that thumbs down. Is anybody
gonna talk to me now? No.
Yeah, it's better from.
Is somebody gonna talk to me?
No. But you will get someone who just does that out of spite. Yeah, you will just get someone who does that out of spite.
Guys,
and if they do it out of spite, yeah, it's their.
You don't remember me.
The thing is, they like you enough to come on to.
Guys, why not talking to me?
They like you enough to come on to do that to you.
I need some answers.
It's their own childish little head. upside down child's face on the stream is like something from Asian horror film like The Ring.
Hello.
I don't want. Hey, hands to yourself, boy. No.
Zachy, stop it.
Yeah, you are.
Nobody wants to see up your nose.
So, you need one of your jokes, Zachy. Right, guys.
I'm out of jokes.
Guys, it's 9:15. We're way past our hour mark. I'm gonna call it a night here.
Only 10 minutes. Let it go to 11 minutes and you'll probably get a night.
And
has to be exactly on 0. Here, let it go to 10 at least. Let it go to 10.
I need to. Yeah.
No,
right.
you made it to.
So I'm gonna call it a night here, guys. Thanks for coming in and hanging out and chatting.
Peace out.
It's been a blast, and I'll see you next week.
No, wait till it goes to 30.
Nobody was even talking to me about that.
It's okay, buddy.